Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we have another proposed mechanics video, and we've done a lot of these. You guys enjoy them. It's made by a guy who makes a lot of these type of mechanic videos, as you can see right here. I said mechanic videos, mechanic concepts, like he writes them on Reddit, and he has a lot of concepts that he's gone over. We've gone over a lot of them as well. Yeah, we skipped some, we missed some. It is what it is, but he is pumping them out at a good rate. And we're actually going to go take a look at one that we kind of missed. As you can see, it says 15 days ago, so we did kind of miss it, but we are coming back to it, and we're going to see what it's all about. Like always, if you like it, go and upvote it, go and comment on it. You know, it helps him out. He enjoys doing this. He even replies to all the comments, so there you go. But yeah, so without further ado, this will be linked down below, and we're going to go through it. I'm going to give my opinions, and we're going to go from there. So proposed mechanics: sieges, sallying out, tunneling, random events, criminal treachery, and more. Hello, first of all, I love this game. Can't wait to see it live up to its potential, and delighted that the next update is on the way. So this was before the 1.4.3 update that just came out. Siege battles, despite the choppy AI, are a lot of fun, but I, as many others, would love to see more options for play. That's why I would like to propose my take on some of the ideas floating around and add some more. There it is. So, tunnels. The tunnel mechanic would be straightforward. A tunnel entrance would be created in one of the siege equipment slots. Okay, so like, what's it called? Like would it be an extra slot, or would you have to choose between a ram or a tunnel? Would it be something like that, or would it be an extra like fourth slot for it? Uh, this would be shown slowly tunneling towards the wall until it reaches it, undermines the actual source of the word below. By the way, and destroys it. Hold on, what? This would be shown slowly tunneling towards the wall until it reaches it, undermines the actual source of the word. By the way, undermines it and destroys it. Oh, the wall, the wall. Okay, okay. They cannot be targeted by enemy artillery, but they are slow and vulnerable to parties sallying out. Okay. Didn't So this would this destroy the wall, or would this give a path for let's say would this give a path for troops to go in through the? I think this just destroys the wall, right? It's not like a path inside, because the tunnel wouldn't be big enough. It would just destroy the wall. Okay. And another question is, so this can't be targeted by enemy artillery and all that. It's slow and vulnerable, okay? But I think in these situations, I'm pretty sure the people who did dig this, they usually died, if I'm not mistaken, or got very severely wounded. So maybe like if you did want to do a tunnel, it can be very effective, but you do lose troops. I think like there's a chance to lose troops, if that kind of makes sense. And obviously it's a slow process as well, but it's effective if actually carried out, right? Now you have sallying out. So defenders could sally out, meaning launch a hit and run attack from within the town. Okay. Oh, like sally out mean launch a hit and run attack from within the town. Okay, so like a defender could send out like let's say a group of 30 to do like a surprise attack, maybe like at night or something, right? And you know, get some troops. What's it called? Dwindle the numbers, pretty much, right? Only cavalry could sally out, making them very useful to have as part of a garrison. Okay, that would give cavalry a good reason to be in the garrison. But also, I think archers should be able to sally out as well. To be honest, I think all types of units should be able to sally out. But I think for each type of unit, let's say cavalry, what's it called? Cavalry, archers, and infantry. I think infantry would be the basic one, but you would lose the most units from it because they have to get up and close and personal, and obviously, you know, they're going to get into some battles and you might lose some units. Archers are a safer bet than infantry, but they still could, they could get trapped somewhere, or they could get too close and they could still lose units. And I think cavalry should be the most safe option. So it still gives cavalry a boost and a reason to be part of the garrison, because they're the most safe option when it comes to sallying out. But I think you should be able to sally out infantry, archers, and then cavalry. And like, you know what I mean? Like infantry, you lose the most troops. Archers, you still lose like a good amount of troops. And then in terms of cavalry, you would lose the least amount of troops because they have very good maneuverability, right? And since the 1.3 patch did come out, this was written beforehand, right? But since this one did come out and we have the option to manage our troops before we go into a hideout, I feel like if we're gonna have a sally out option, right, or sailing out option, then I think that it should use that same screen where it's like, who do you want to send out, and you can choose like, you know what I mean, whatever the limit is. I think the limit should be there should definitely be limits, right? I have no clue on what limits should be. Maybe 50 for a town at most that you can send out, and then what's it called? Maybe like 25 for a castle. I don't know, something like that. This would also have foundation in history as the usual reason for cavalry in garrisons. Okay, so it'd be kind of historical. All right, makes sense. The sallying out party would have an upper limit of 50 cavalry. Yeah, like I told you, like something like 50, right? For towns, maybe 25 for castles, maybe 30. The defenders would initially number a max of 150 spread across the line. Special perks would increase this number. Wait, what? The defenders would initially number a max of 150 spread out across the line. Special perks would increase this number. I'm confused. The besiegers would be reinforced after 1 to 2 minutes, depending on the tactics skill of the commander. Oh, are you talking about like? Oh, we're still under the sallying out thing, so I guess you can. Okay, so like sallying out party would have an upper limit of 50 cavalry, but 150 is the max that you can take out, is what it looks like, right? I think this is too much, personally. If that's what you mean by like 150 is like the max amount of units that you can sally out, I think that's too much. The besiegers would be reinforced after 1 to 2 minutes, depending on the tactics skill of the commander. Okay. Right now, the main thing that is interrupting how much people can be during a siege or a battle is just your computer performance. So that would still depend on that, I think. Cavalry would ride out the gates to attack the enemy positions. The following objectives could be targeted: close distance, tunnel entrance. Okay, so to disrupt the tunnel. Okay. Medium distance, catapults and trebuchets. Disrupt the catapults and trebuchets. Far distance, besiegers' food supply. Ooh, that's okay. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And another thing I wish that you could do, right? Now, this obviously wouldn't be like sallying out, but one thing that I wish you could do is like, let's say you're inside of a castle defending it. I feel like you should be able to like historically speaking, you should be able to send out some riders to go talk to your other clans members, right? Like your other clans, and be like, hey, they're attacking us right now. I want you guys to start up either an army or start raiding all this guy's stuff that's attacking me, right? So he can, fall back. Kind of like a diversion tactic, right? And I know we're getting, later on, we're getting like, what do you call it? We're getting mechanics where we can send our party members to go do certain things and stuff of that nature. But I think it should be a lot deeper. It should be a lot more in depth of like stuff that you can send companions to do and stuff that you can send other clans to do. Because I think that would be very, a good diversion tactic and a good smart choice to make. And it would make sense, really. Now, having arrived at the targets, the player would have to hold F for X seconds to set it ablaze. Ooh, yeah, hold F, man. Pay respects, man. Okay. Should the player knock out any enemy commander, there's a % chance they will capture him. Ooh, then you can use that as like then you can set a parlay or whatever, right? And then you can use that kind of like, hey, You want it back or not? Once the player realizes he can do as much damage as he can do, he can order his men to retreat and they will flee back. Should the player be commanding the defense and be captured, the city's garrison will surrender without him. Ooh, that's really risky. I don't know about that. Likewise, should the player capture the enemy commander, his army will dissolve. See, it would make sense, right? It would make sense that that's what should happen. But I feel like in terms of the game, everyone would just go for this sally out option every single time a place gets attacked, because there's a small chance they just capture the commander and the whole thing's over, right? I don't know how this would be balanced. I think this needs to be better balanced, because everyone would choose this option over actually defending the town, if that kind of makes sense, right? But yeah, it makes sense. That kind of, you know. All right, so I'm aware that this would be very difficult to map for AI commanders to sally out. I'm not sure what can be done there. What do you think of the party limits? Is there too much of an advantage for defenders, besiegers? I'm not sure. Okay, so party limits, like I said before, should be way lower. I see what you're trying to do. Kind of, you're trying to like make it like so you participate in it as like you participate in the sally out as well. But here's what I think it should be. Same way as when you send troops in a battle, you don't really see the battle, you just see the ending of it. I think sallying out should be very similar to that, right? You make a command to sally out, or like to sally out like 50 cavalry or whatever, right? And let's say a day passes, you have a little bar that pretty much says sallying out, and once the bar reaches the 100%, right? Kind of the same way like when you reach a hideout, it says wait until nighttime, and then you press that button, and then there's a bar that like goes up all the way to 100%, and then boom, it's nighttime, right? So I think once you hit sally out with whatever type of troops that you choose, I think that it should be one of those bars, and at the end you just get the results, like was it successful, was it not, what did you lose, what did you get, and all of that. I think that's how it should work. And in terms of this last one, where if they capture the commander and stuff like that, yeah, it makes sense, but I think this should be a super low chance. Like this should be like a, you know, a Hail Mary play. Like this should never, you know what I mean? Like, you know how you have close distance, medium distance, and far distance? I think there should be a fourth option, like try to capture or assassinate the commander. This would take a lot of troops, and it's a very small chance that it could work. You know what I mean? But if you're really down bad and you really need it, and that's the only way you're going to win this, then you should have that choice to try it, but you should know that it's a very small chance, if that kind of makes sense. But otherwise, I do agree with a lot of this. It's just, you know, some of this stuff, you know, little tweaks here and there. Now, we have criminal gangs. Another poster proposed how criminal gangs could be paid by attacking the army to destroy the defender's food supply or simply open the gates. We did, I did skim over this, but I am actually going to go over this. I think it's the same post that I have, right? Yeah, I have the post right over here. I do want to go over this one as well. So we're going to go over that in a different video. But pretty much he stated, another post I proposed how criminal gangs could be paid by the attacking army to destroy the defender's food supply or simply open the gate. Alright, so here it is, right? So we talked about criminal gangs before. So I think that criminal gangs, I think they should be part of every town, because obviously wherever there's money, there's going to be crime. That's how it works. That's how it's been in the world forever. You know what I mean? It's how it is in the world. That's just how it is. It's unfortunate, but that's... If someone can get money easy, they're going to get money easy, right? But, so criminal gangs. I think that, like I said before, there should be a couple criminal gang families, right? Kind of how, you can take it kind of how, like, the mafia worked, right? In, like, the 1900s. So, you got a couple of families. They own specific towns. Like, they populate specific towns. And let's say there's 5 or 6 families on the map. Each one has a couple towns under their control, right? And by control, I mean like they run the criminal aspect of the town, but they're not like the governor, or they're not the ruler of it, right? They just run the criminal activities within that town and all the other towns that they own. Now, if you become friendly with one of those families, and let's say they run the criminal enterprise inside the town that you're currently besieging, then since you have ties with them, you can make an agreement like, hey, go disrupt the food supply, open the gate. It pretty much, you know, the open the gate part, I feel like you have to be really, really close to that family, because obviously this is something that could be punishable by death. This could be seen as like an accident, like a fire or something like that, right? So this is a more simpler approach. But if they simply open the gate, they're taking a huge risk, and that family could either be expelled or executed from that town after they take that risk. So obviously this should be like a big, you know what I mean? This is a big favor for the criminal gang that you wanted to, you know, what's it called? For the criminal gang that has to do this, right? But I think that if that mechanic would work like that, where there was a couple families and they owned the criminal activities in that town, and obviously they fought for it the same way that rulers fight for like different towns, right? Like they would invade some different towns and attack the crime bosses there, and some of them would be allied together, some of them wouldn't be, and stuff of that nature. I feel like it would be so cool to have like a second layer of you know, kind of like how right now we have kingdoms. Kingdoms have lords, and lords take over towns and castles, right? What would be cool is to see if these criminal gangs can take over towns as well, but on the criminal level, right? And then also what would be cool is if you can see some of these criminal gangs also, you know, go to villages, and obviously, you know how like the mafia did the same thing. They paid for security, right? They would do the same thing with villages. You get what I'm saying. I feel like I'm going to talk about it more when I go over this part right here, right? Because this talks about it a lot more in depth. But yeah, I have a lot of ideas for this, you know, because right now it's very basic, but it has so much potential. Now, city street battles. I really loved street battles in Mount Blade, even though I was barely alive going into them most of the time. It would be great to see them something like this again. There is currently a way to do it, right? If you want to overthrow a crime boss, whatever, but it's very basic in my opinion. But I know what he means, but it's very basic right now. There could be a mechanic where once the enemy drops to percent of its force, there's a percent chance they will fall back into the streets. The second section of the battle would take place. Oh, okay, never mind. I thought you were still talking about like criminal gangs, like, because right now there's some quests you can do where you can join one of the criminal gangs and fight the other one that's in the city, right? But he means like battles when you're sieging, right? So there's a percent chance that they will fall back to the streets. The second section of the battle will take place. Should the target city be a capital? We also need capitals. I've been talking about this. Capitals are huge towns, huge garrisons. It's pretty much like, you know, it's the capital. It's the most protected town of a kingdom, and it's the hardest to take down, right? And it would actually it would add an in-game, like not an in-game, an end-game town feature, right? Where you obviously can't fight this capital right now at all, and there will only be one capital per kingdom, by the way. And other stuff that I wanted to implement was, since that's the capital, you know, it will give a lot of like comeback potential to a lot of kingdoms, so kingdoms wouldn't just be wiped out. Let's say, so normal towns, kind of mid-game-ish, they usually have 500 to 700 defenders, which, you know, is a lot, but it's a town, right? Now, I think a capital should have close to 2,000 garrisoned, right? Yeah, I think the cost should have to be, like, the wages and the garrison wages have to be kind of balanced out before this can happen. But I feel like having that huge garrison and that huge garrison town will give a lot of end game potential and make it so kingdoms can come back, you know, and it wouldn't be so one-sided, if that kind of makes sense. But let's read this. Should the target city be a capital, you could also have a third stage, a fight in the Lord's Hall. Should the player be knocked out, they will be able to rejoin the next stage with minimum health should their forces be victorious. That's cool. So you have like little stages, you know what I mean? You get through the walls, then you get to the inner city, and then if need be, you get to the what's it called? Like, you'll have like a pop-up like, hey, the ruler still doesn't want to give up, right? He's in the Lord's Hall. He has his personal bodyguards, which are probably like the strongest units. Oh my god. And then you could use the 1.4.3 like mechanic of like hideouts where you can manage your troops, and like in that last battle you can manage your troops and pick your best troops and fight against his best troops. Oh my god, that is a whole new concept. I think that would be great. Yeah, 100%. Yes, this is beautiful. Alright, let's keep reading this. So defending commander decisions. The defending commander, through speaking to his steward slash governor, we've gone over that, by the way, would have the following options: purge the criminals. The defending commanders purges the city criminals in order to avoid any treachery. This would occur like a street fight as proposed here, but the force is limited to 50 on each side. Should the player be victorious, the treachery will be prevented, and the criminal gang win. Then it's assumed they rush to open the gate. The besiegers now have to defend an assault with the gate open. Okay. So you can get rid of them, and then obviously you're going to take some losses, and it's a great risk that they open the gates. Okay. For the greater good, the governor sends out troops to search houses for additional food supplies. This will anger the population. You got to do what you got to do. Every man to the wall. The player can pass a speech check in order to draft in additional men. This will be low-quality troops, think looters. Should the player fail the speech and decide to draft them anyways, relationships with the town will take a severe hit, and defending army's morale will be poorer. Once the siege is ended, these troops are removed. Here's another thing. So, purge the criminals. I think you should be able to do this, but I think you should also be able to talk with the criminal family, whoever's in the criminal gang boss or whatever, right? You should be able to talk to him, and you should be able to offer him dinars, and also offer a certain amount of dinars per troop that he can provide that's inside the walls, and they can pretty much join you for the fight, right? Because obviously they want more gold and dinars, and if you have kind of good relationships with them, you can actually recruit them and boost your numbers. I think you should be able to do that. And if you do that, you'll lose dinars, but you'll gain their trust during the siege, so they're not going to open the gates. Like this whole option is going to be null and void. You know what I mean? For the greater good one, I think you should be able to send out troops to search for additional food, but also I think there should be another option which allows you to ask everybody to start rationing food, right? And if the city loves you, like if it has like a high morale or a high loyalty, they'll do it out of their hearts because they like you as a ruler. But if you don't have good loyalty with them, then you'll have to choose the bad choice, which will anger the population, right? And this will kind of give more importance to your relationships with your town, with the criminal gangs. If you maintain good relationships with everything, you'll be in a good place. If you don't, you'll really be screwed when this does happen. If that kind of makes sense, right? And the same thing with the draft additional men. Like, if you have good loyalty, if you've done a lot of good upgrades, then people will enlist. People in the population will enlist because, they like you as a ruler. You know what I mean? But if they don't like you, then you can do it forcibly. But obviously, that's going to ruin relationships even more. Now, siege random events. Low leadership. Either a riot in the besieging camp or city or castle. The troops are bored. Some of them have taken to making booze from rotting fruit. Gambling has become rampant, and the general sense of unease has broken out to violence with a small riot. X-Men are killed / injured. I think there should be a lot more random events in this game. Listen, there should be a lot more. Let me explain to you. I feel like if you're riding through the world map, right, you should have a pop-up that says, hey, 23 of your troops just contracted something, and now they're wounded. You know what I mean? Just randomly pops up. Or, hey, 10 of your troops, while you were traveling through the mountains, fell. You know what I mean? Now they're dead. I feel like we should have so much more of these random events. And it just kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, if you're riding with 150 troops and you're doing it consistently, some of them are going to die off. Some of them are going to get wounded some way. You know what I mean? That's just how life works. You know what I mean? Especially if you're, let's say you're going from a desert all the way to the Sturgeons up top where it's snowing. There should be, environmental things. Like, let's say if you're in the Sturgeon land for too long and you're not Sturgeon, right? You're not born in that land. Let's say you're Azra, right? And you're on the opposite side of where all the snow is. Well, all of a sudden, since you don't have mostly Sturgeon troops that have heavy fur, some might die over time. You know what I mean? You might get a random thing that says, hey, 10 of them got frostbite. You know what I mean? They're done and out. I think these random events should happen a lot more often. You know what I mean? And they don't always have to be bad too. They can be good. Like hey, as you're traveling, you found this let's say you're just traveling through the map, right? You go through like this forested area, and they say, hey, you found an abandoned hunter's lounge or whatever, right? There was meat in there. There was a lot of leather, all that. You collected it, and now you have extra stuff, right? Stuff like that. I think random events like this should be a thing. I know it's a mod. It's out there. You guys can go check it out. But, yeah, it should be in the game. Kind of like if people played the Oregon Trail, right? It was like this game. We played it in school. We played it like, it was kind of like a board game, but they also have kind of like online versions. But unfortunately, there's no like recent ones that have tried to do that concept. But I really like that concept of games. I don't know if people remember it or not, but those concept of games were very, very cool. Now, let's move on. So, high tactics besiegers. Scouting parties have brought back a rich supply of provisions from raiding the local countryside. Boom, just, you know, good random event. Low engineering besiegers. Tunnels collapse. The tunnel would be late for X hours. Okay. High engineering. Through some real MacGyver moves, your builders have managed to repair some damage to the walls. Yeah. So, siege random events. I think there should be world random events as well. And a lot of them. Because it would just make sense, because stuff always happens, you know what I mean? And I think this would really, you know, help it out. Should navies ever be introduced, they could attempt to resupply port cities with food/troops. They would make port cities much easier to defend, and I worry how the AI would manage to coordinate land/sea forces. Not sure this could work either way. Yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your opinions. I think I gave a lot of my opinions. Hopefully, you know, they were good opinions. We'll see. Gives me a nice thank you with a shout out. Appreciate it, my guy. You know what I mean? He's been doing shout outs on a lot of these posts, and I do appreciate it. But like always, you know, if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. This link will be down below. Go show it some love if you do support the idea. You know, comment down below all of that. And like always, stay safe.